بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Welcome to all. Tonight's lesson, inshallah ta'ala, we will be tackling chapter number 15 from Marjan. Chapter 15 states, Babu man ba'a nakhlan alayha thamarun. Whoever sells a date palm tree having fruits. Whoever, the ruling, is it permissible? Is it haram? Is it disliked? Is it a lawful, valid, illicit transaction to sell someone a tree at the same time that tree has fruits on it? I.e., selling someone a product that includes a product, with or without the stipulations of the initial product along with the secondary product, such as an animal. Everyone understand? As a what? As an animal. What will be the ruling of a camel herder selling a baby camel? The baby camel is still in the mother's womb. The she camel is pregnant for sure. She's about to drop her load. And he says to a purchaser, I will sell you this baby camel. Trust me, it's going to be a fine baby camel. It's a lineage, a pedigree, a horse, any other type of animal. What will be the ruling on that? Based off of what we studied. That would be haram, for sure.
Yeah.
Why would it be haram, Ali?
Because he doesn't have it in his hand.
He doesn't have it. Also,
the outcome is unknown.
It's gharar, jahala. It's unknown. It's highly risky. He doesn't have the ability to guarantee it. If something goes wrong, if the baby dies, etc., if it's a miscarriage, right? The baby camel was born with one leg, missing something, okay? There's so many different problems with that contract. But what's the permissibility of me selling to you the mother camel, the she camel, and the baby just happens to come along with it? Understand the difference? The baby happens to what? Come along with it. Everybody clear on this?
No.
And my intention and my goal is not selling or buying the baby, but it's only the mother. So the scholars of Islam, very important principle, Ma'mun, with regards to this chapter, and the hadith regarding this chapter is يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. There's a maxim of fiqh, a maxim of fiqh pertaining to buying and selling contracts, and that is things that are secondary, things that happen to just come along, are lawful, but they would never be lawful individually or primarily. Something, if it was isolated, if it was sold by itself, would be haram. But it's lawful to be included into the deal based off of not it itself, but something else which is bigger, which is shadowing that thing. Everybody clear on this? And there's so many different manifestations of this in our modern times. Buying a car, right? There may be something in the car that people may use for unlawful action, but I'm just selling you the car. And it happens to be in the car or a part of the car. Everyone understand this? Some scholars mention with regards to jewelry, with regards to some types of gold, some types of white gold, right? And a man's ring or a watch, which isn't the actual main feature of the watch. That's not what's meant by the watch, but it happens to be a small part, a component of the watch. So they would say what? It's lawful because I'm buying the watch because it's stainless steel. The dial is ceramic. But these hands or these little small, tiny, mini gears happen to be from white gold. But that's taba' walaysa, that's not istiqlal. Versus I'm intentionally going after a gold watch. You understand the difference here?
No.
Okay? And there are many, as I said, many manifestations of this when it comes to renting, leasing, buying, so on and so forth. يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. So buying the dates, buying the fruit in the trees. Ali, we spoke about this. The Prophet ﷺ did what? What did we say last week?
He allowed
He allowed it. He made a concession, meaning that it normally wouldn't be
permissible.
because anything can happen to those fruits. They can go bad, rain, storm, they could have worms in them, etc. But because it's a hardship, difficulty, so on and so forth, he allowed them to look and to see how many bundles or bunches of dates are there and to sell them. Everyone understand this? So therefore, selling the tree, buying the tree with the fruits that it has, that would be problematic. But because a person is intending on buying the tree and not the fruits, then it would be lawful. That's the qaida. Everybody clear on this? And obviously that can be applied to the air compressor, you said, right? Air conditioner compressor, right? That can be applied to this modern day issue in the bank, this issue with the property, correct? Right? Everyone understand this? We're buying a building for a masjid and it has to have a big, fat, gigantic church bell. What will be the ruling on buying that bell? But we're not after the bell. We're after the church to turn it into a masjid. And the bell, let's say for argument's sake that the seller, the Christian, the owner of the church, he knows the value of the bell. And let's say he hikes the price up knowing that that bell is there. We know this. For argument's sake, we would be permissible for us to buy and purchase what? Everything, because we're not after the bell. But it wouldn't be lawful for us to just go after the bell and buy the bell because it's a church bell. Everyone get the point? And there are countless examples of this, which is very important concerning the modern day flexibility of the Sharia. What's the rule on eating insects, Mukhtar? يجوز أم لا يجوز؟ يجوز. مطلقا? If it doesn't have filth. So ليس مطلقا. There are some insects that we can eat.
No, locust.
طيب. All right. خيرا. What else? Idris? Can we have insects, Abdaki? Snails, escargot. Allahu Akbar. Khalas. Sayyarati, right? Tamshi, right? Tayyib. All right, Abir, what you say about this? La tadri, H. Can we have snails? Can we eat insects in Islam or not?
If he's lactating.
على الإطلاق? All insects or some?
Snail is an insect.
Snail is not an insect. Tayyib. All right, Mukhtar. We're going to get there, inshallah. Can we eat insects? You guys have studied this in the chapter of foods? Huh? You skipped that part in the marketplace, huh? Tayyib. So in general, the general rule is, without any question, the general rule, Mukhtar, al-hukm al-am, is that لا يجوز أكل الحشرات. A Muslim is prohibited from eating insects, with the exceptions to a few. And some of the reasons, one of the main reasons why a Muslim cannot eat an insect, because in most cases, it's khabith, mustakhbath. Like you said, filthy. It's looked down upon. Such as a roach or a water bug. Many people in different countries eat chocolate-covered roaches. They eat roasted water bugs. It's a delicacy. It's high in protein and fiber. Right? It's just reality. Tayyib? Okay. And not as a means of survival or necessity, but actually going after the insect. Like, oh, this is yummy. So with regards to locusts, grasshoppers, a few things like this, right? There's a hadith regarding that. أُحِلَّنَا مَيْتَتَانِ وَدَمَانِ. Ibn Umar's narration. Some scholars say the Prophet ﷺ said it, marfu', and some say it's mawquf ala Ibn Umar. أُحِلَّتْ لَنَا مَيْتَتَانِ وَدَمَانِ. Two types of dead things are lawful, and two types of blood are lawful. As far as the dead, al-jaradu wal-hut. The jarad, whether it's a grasshopper or an insect, and fish. وَأَمَّا الدَّمَانِ فَالْكَبِدُ وَالطِّحَالُ. The liver and the spleen. All right, now here to talk about that. Muslim is not supposed to eat an insect. Muslim is not supposed to enjoy an insect. Muslim cannot purchase an insect with the intention of consuming it in general. But if he bought honey, raw wild honey and it had parts of bees in it, what will be the ruling? Why? You can't eat. Can you eat the bee's legs or the wing?
No, but it's looking at the honey now.
Aywa. That the insect parts are what? Following the honey. Everyone understand the beneficial the how beneficial this qaida is? Everybody clear on this? And for sure, there are going to be parts of this bee in this honey because it's that wild, that fresh, that raw. All right. Now we talk about the different chocolates in the world, in the different countries in Europe, right? With regards to them passing laws and ordinances for chocolates and other foods to contain lice. Right? Can a Muslim eat that chocolate or not? That's a big problem now. And other products as well. Okay, we're on the same page with these? Everybody on the same page? Taking the old and connecting it and attaching it with the modern. All right, khair inshallah. So that is why Ali, the chapter heading is even a chapter heading. That's why it will be problematic, because of the previous chapters. First hadith, the author states, hadith number 991. حديث عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من باع نخلا قد أبرت فالثمرها للبائع إلا أن يشترط المبتاع. 991 narrated Abdullah bin Umar, Allah's Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم said, if somebody sells pollinated date palms, the fruits will be for the seller unless the buyer stipulates that they will be for himself. Whoever, or if somebody sells pollinated date palms, meaning date palm trees, the fruits, meaning the dates, hanging and dangling from those trees, will be for the seller, the original owner of the tree or the trees. He will keep the fruits. The seller, that wasn't included. The system in the trunk wasn't a part of the what? Wasn't a part of the car. Or the rims, right? Well, I thought, I told you I was selling you the car. I never told you I was selling you these 24-inch tayyib. All right, he says, the fruits will be for the seller unless the buyer stipulates that they will be for himself. So we learn from this hadith the permissibility of stipulations in contracts. Renting. You're not allowed to bring a pet into my apartment. You're not allowed to smoke. You're not allowed to do such and such. You have to pay me on the 31st of every month before 12 a.m. Understand? And according to some scholars, the permissibility of making late fees that are not included, they're not a part of riba. It's not a tax on what you owe me, but it's a punishment for you paying late. And the general permissibility of stipulations and conditions. Stipulations and what? Conditions. They're lawful until proven. You with me or not? Until proven what? Unlawful. And once you sign that contract and you agree, whatever dealing or transaction, you are bound by that contract. You can't let anyone say, oh, that's haram, that's batil, blah, blah. You signed the contract, though. It was okay when it wasn't when you weren't required to obey. Now the law is in effect. Oh, I don't agree with that. That's haram. My imam says I don't have to pay that. As many brothers do. And that is the importance of writing down the debt, having witnesses, and reading. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that everyone isn't of sound mind. There are people who are foolish. There are people who are weak-minded. People who are mentally ill. If they can't write down, then let the what? The guardian write it down. No one is to be taken advantage of and exploited because they can't read or the contract is in a different language. And of course, there's a long history behind that with regards to the colonial era and different chieftains, people who owned lands and waterfalls and mines and things like this. They signed off on their lands and they had no idea what the contract had included. But it's easy to blame the evil colonists, but how foolish was the chieftain for signing something that he did not understand? I need more time. Oh, it's no problem, Your Highness. We honor you, your greatness. We're in awe of your tribe. Just sign right here, make an X. No. Wait until I get an interpreter that I can trust. Sit down, relax. You'll stay in my tent for the night. You'll be my guest. Oh no, we have to get back to the ships. No, you don't. We'll prepare the feast for you. We want to dance for you and show you our tribal festivities, and then we'll think about the contract. So when someone's rushing you to sign something, in most cases, that is a telltale sign. That's an X. It's a red flag, rushing you. What's the rush? I need to sit down, read it, and think about it, and ponder over it, and consult my war cabinet. Then maybe we'll sign. And until then, you're here to stay as my guest. So the moment the person doesn't want to stay as the guest, they don't want to enjoy, that is the proof that they're trying to hoodwink you. That's the proof that it's something up their sleeve when they're in a rush and they're trying to get your signature on the paper. That's all that matters. You signed off. Once your signature is there, you're bound to that. Okay? So the permissibility of making stipulations, and those stipulations are permissible until clearly proven haram. Clear on this or not? I buy the tree and I want the fruits. Wala? I sell you the tree, you will not get the fruits because you didn't stipulate it. The importance of speaking up. All right, khair inshallah ta'ala. So we're all clear on the chapter heading. And inshallah ta'ala, we should be clear on the meaning and the simplification of the hadith. Naam? All right, let's read the classical explanation. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, so first and foremost is pollinating a tree. How does a tree become pollinated, Abir? What does that mean? Ubirat. What's ta'bir? Similar to your name.
You can pollinate a tree. Maybe.
How's a tree pollinated? What's meant by that? You said third grade science we going back to? Mukhtar? Or second grade? Which grade? Did they talk about this? Which grade? Huh? Pollination, huh? Is an ayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah talks about the bee. No doubt about it. Nahl. Traveling. Right? Seeking Allah's rizq. The benefits of the bee. Nah?
When a bee or an animal carries.
That's flowers. We're not talking about a tree now. We're just talking about general pollination of flowers. A tree pollination is something totally different now. And then we can go deeper than that with regards to the feminist movement. Moving forward. H is an argument. Many feminists consider it offensive to give a woman flowers. A rose is extremely disrespectful. It's considered a subconscious example and show of male chauvinism and women inferiority, because the flower itself is an example of pollination. All right? طيب فضل. We're not here to talk about that. فضل H. That's a side benefit. فضل.
How trees are pollinated?
Yes.
Photosynthesis.
I'm sorry, Sheikh.
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. Allahu Akbar. That's really second grade now. Fadda. The wind, the trees. What happens with the wind? Abir, are you searching this as we speak?
When the
Fadda.
wind blows, leaves and seeds fall, and they migrate to wherever. And rain, precipitation, and you get a new tree.
طيب. If it can all be that simple, huh?
I mean,
Abir, Fadda.
The pollination process, as the brother mentioned, requires a carrier.
A carrier.
Which can be an animal, wind, or human intervention.
Okay. Animal. A bee. Other animals. Fadda.
Basically, it is a process of moving pollen from the anther to the stigma.
Anther to the stigma. Fadda.
Some tree species, including many fruit trees, do not produce fruit from self-pollination, so pollinizer trees are planted in orchards.
To mix it up, all right? For the wind, the animal to blow it, mix it, all right? Keep going.
Cross-pollination produces seeds with a different genetic makeup from the parent plants.
Parent plants. We're getting deeper now. The trees have parents. Fadal.
Such seeds may be created deliberately as part of a selective breeding program for fruit trees with desired attributes.
Red tomatoes, orange carrots, this type of date. The science, the fiqh of farming and agriculture is deep. Fadal.
Trees that are cross-pollinated or pollinated via an insect pollinator produce more fruit than trees with flowers that just self-pollinate. In fruit trees, bees are an essential part of the pollination process for the formation of fruit.
What about the trees? Is there a male tree and a female tree?
Yeah.
Now,
What you got? Fadal H.
No, we can.
Specifically about the date palm. Fadal. What you got, H?
It says, let me see.
there's a male tree and a female tree.
Yeah, it is.
Date palm trees.
So how do they mix the male and the female? Through the cross-pollination?
Self-pollination.
What happens?
Because it says here, unfortunately, neither birds or bees are attracted to the flowers, so the females have to be hand-pollinated.
It is.
By the farmer. Okay, the male and the female have to be introduced to each other. Tayyib. Fadal, keep going. Even in plants, Allahu Akbar. Male and female. Dhakar and untha. Right? Not dhakaraini or unthayain. Fadal.
The male trees produce pollen, and the female trees produce flowers. Unfortunately,
You understand?
neither birds-
Feminists now? The females produce the flowers, the male produce the pollen. They don't want flowers. Fadal.
Unfortunately, neither birds or bees are attracted to the flowers, so the females have to be hand pollinated. During the later part of February, we begin to watch for the sheaths on the male trees to begin splitting open. As soon as a sheath on a male tree begins to open, it is tied with string to hold it together and removed from the tree.
Fadal.
The female trees have the same kind of sheath, and as they begin to flower, we will remove the sheath and separate each strand. We then tie the strands together and hand pollinate the flowers using the fresh pollen that we have collected from the male trees. We use a small, we pollinate each female tree at least 3 times.
Everyone understand the process? The fiqh, the science of planting and growing. It's not so simple. You can't just plant something, put it in the ground, and it doesn't work like that. There are types, species. There's a whole world in science, and the people who are naturally talented at planting and farming, green thumbs, right? Taib just they're naturally good at it, right? And of course, the history of this country, with regards to many of the natives, many of the indigenous people were excellent farmers. They had years of experience, Allahu Alam, centuries of experience, talent and skill, and they introduced those farming techniques, subhanallah, to the very people that would drive them from their lands. Some people say history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. They introduced these techniques of basic survival, let alone prosperity, to the very people within a few amount of years. We'll call them savages, godless people who don't deserve to live, right? So be mindful of who you're kind to, right? Be mindful of secrets that you share with people. The one that you teach and shoot the bow may one day what? Be mindful of that, all right? So always keep one hidden technique, that you never teach the student, no matter how talented the student may be. One thing, right? Khair inshallah. All right. So An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here concerning this chapter, طيب فحكمها في البيع حكم المعبرة بفعل الآدمي، هذا مذهبنا. وفي هذا الحديث جواز الإبار للنخل وغيره من الثمار وَقَدْ أَجْمَعُوا عَلَى جَوَازِهِ. They unanimously agree on the permissibility of pollination. It's totally fine. وقد اختلف العلماء في حكم بيع النخل المبيعة بعد التأبيد وقبله. هل تدخل فيها الثمرة عند إطلاق بيع النخلة من غير تعرض للثمرة بنفي ولا إثبات. So the scholars, they differ on the tree that's pollinated versus the tree that isn't pollinated. Is that included in the tree that bears fruit or not? The fruits aren't necessarily there yet, but it's pollinated. In most cases, there will be fruits. All right, that's a discussion in itself. We can skip over that. Bidnillahi ta'ala, who do the fruits belong to? Some scholars say clearly the hadith says that it stays with the seller unless the buyer stipulates and demands them. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. All right, let's move on to the next chapter. And this goes to show, or maybe we'll stop here because we did take a lot. Agriculture and finance, and how there's always the need for balance and moderation in both. Many nations rose because of agriculture, and many nations or kingdoms or empires fell because of the total reliance upon agriculture, and that things have become outdated, obsolete, that it's no longer possible for your economy to rely absolutely upon agriculture or head tax. It's now, you have to to update your system now. The agriculture is important, but that can no longer be the staple source of your coffers and of your treasury. 100 years ago, for sure. 50 years ago, 200 years ago, but now in the other countries, your rivals that you're fighting for territory, control over this port, over this sea, they have now graduated. And their economy is no longer an agrarian economy anymore. Agriculture is important, but that can't be the backbone of your war machine anymore. Your army can't be fed just off of, you get the point I'm trying to make? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we ignore agriculture and a country's sufficiency. Okay? Khayr inshallah ta'ala. We'll stop here today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.